Oh boy, here we go. Alright, so I'm getting ready for work when I find out I managed to sleep through a snowstorm. Like, a fairly big one. My car is pretty much buried entirely in snow. So, I dig out my car the best that I can, and I avoid hitting anyone by sliding left and right across the snow desperately, and I begin my haphazard journey to work. Now, I don't want to drive on a highway, because I'm mildly concerned I'll end up a news blip about how I crashed at a high speed into a cliffside by sliding on a flake of snow. So instead, I come to the brilliant conclusion of driving through a residential district. And as we all know, they totally prioritize plowing a rinky-dink side street over an area of major automotive travel. So the roads seem fine, but then I start turning onto a road which is just a complete blanket of snow. You can't tell the difference between a yard and the street. Not a single person has tried driving on this yet, okay? You know who can drive on that with ease? A buffoon like myself. So I turn onto the road and slide almost instantly into a ditch, and my wheels start spinning. So I'm like, great. I'm gonna freeze to death in the middle of nowhere, solely because I neglected this crazy option known as reverse instead of powering through to get onto this street. So, as the cold starts setting in and I spend my final thoughts thinking of Victoria Justice, a knock sounds on my driver's side window, and I am greeted by Rick Moranis. Well, not the real Rick Moranis, but he looked like his Walmart brand cousin, maybe twice removed. He's in a full beige trench coat, he's wearing a pitch black fedora, and he has some lackluster stubble on both sides of his face. He's also tipping this hat dramatically. It's likely to contend with the wind that's blowing in his face as he's at my window, but I chose to tell myself he was just making a very dramatic entrance. He looks at me and yells, "Greetings," as one often does to start a conversation. "Looks like you're stuck in some snow, friend." "Yeah, I noticed, Rick, thank you." He recommends I put the car in reverse and then go straight. Thank you. What an idea. Why didn't I think of that, Rick Moranis? So I reverse and then start driving straight to get out of this nightmare as quickly as possible. Rick waves in my rearview mirror. I said, "Hey, honey, I freed the kid." But enter truck. A giant truck starts driving straight at me, and since the road is just a blanket of snow, no one knows where one lane begins and my life ends. So I swerve off the road to let the truck pass, and I get stuck in a ditch again. Now, this time I'm surrounded by news sites. A man is snowblowing right next to my car and ignoring my desperate pleas for help. And I'm extra stuck, so there's no brilliant play call this time of reversing and driving that's gonna save me from this disaster. So, the cold starts setting in, and once again I have my final fleeting thoughts of Victoria Justice when suddenly a knock sounds on my driver's side window. "Ahoy there, sailor!" says Rick Moranis, still tightly clutching his mighty fedora and looking like he will be joining Hall & Oates for his Private Eyes debut. "It appears you've made land." A perfectly awkward greeting. "Have you tried reversing and going straight?" he says. "Yes," I said, quite flatly in response. Huh. And he just stares off into space, like that was his only possible solution, so I'm stumped, can't go anywhere with here. Well, you remember that guy that was snowplowing? Well, apparently, suddenly he remembered me, so he walks over and says, "Great, another idiot in the ditch." That was his greeting. I think I preferred Rick's. "I got an idea," Rick says, instead of addressing this rude greeting. "If you let me drive, I'll get the car out." Now, typically this is how in 80s films it usually starts a carjacking scene, but desperate, I decide to leave my life and fate of my vehicle in Rick Moranis' rather small hands. With the combined strength of a jerk, and there is no Dana, only Zool, the two helped push me out of the ditch, and I drove on my merry way. I checked my rear view, and Rick vanished into the snowstorm. Batman vanished in the middle of the night. I chose to believe Rick was a vigilante patrolling these snow-ridden streets, freeing cars in the name of justice. That or he wanted to carjack me, which is feasible, I guess. So, yeah. That's it.